nerd section. Are you ready for it? Flash the title! It's time for the closing statement! Aww. The closing statement is the last section, and if I have a good question that is something where an opinion really counts, I'm going to address it here. So, this is a question that I think is very important because it's one that plagues any kind of community, whatever it may be, and it's a question about all these new and custom kendamas draining community, or are they flooding the community? I know you love the garb. When it comes to all these new kendamas, there are so many kendama brands out there now. Cripes, because I remember when I first started, it was TK, Musu, Mugen, Fuji, Sakura, I think were the 5. Yomega, if you want to count that. Kendama USA had just started. I remember their pro team was essentially 4 rollerbladers and Colin Sander. And as time has gone on, there's been a lot of new faces, and some have shown up and actually established themselves as, pretty solid. So the question is now that it's growing, which is a beautiful thing, to see it happening, and the fact that we have now competitions across the country is always a good thing, and the fact that these can be supported by companies of these products. Is it bad that they're flooding the community? Yes and no. Yes, it's kind of bad in the way that there's just so much out there now that people may feel misled and get us inferior kendama product. But here's where the community can actually dictate these sort of things, and it's a big difference from some of the other things I've ever been involved in, thanks to the internet. Because when I first got involved, this is going to be a bad analogy, but when I first got involved in video games back in the 80s, people would put out video games and you would just buy them and you would have no idea what kind of game you're really getting. You're just kind of stuck with it. But you just had to, this is the game you're stuck with, and that's it. Thanks to the way we have internet now, and people can talk about these things. So let's say you get let's reopen old wounds. Let's say back in the day you got a first edition pro model from Kendama USA, and you got, the Turner Thorn model, and you're playing with it and the rope broke, because that was a huge problem with them. And it would actually be churned out through word of mouth that, hey, this is not the product that we should have. That can happen at the community in any time now, which is something which would have been unheard of for a lot of people prior. That's why I don't think it's a bad thing that there's all these companies, because what's going to happen is this. The inferior companies, yes, may make some profit by just getting in people that are not informed, but those who get really good and really devoted are going to start specializing in those ones that are really superior products. So guys like Sweets, Kendama USA, Kendama Co., whoever, they're going to last because they are putting out a superior product. Now, the other part of this question goes with the idea of the customs. I get what they're trying to do. Guys like Grain Theory, I think, is an amazing idea, that they are changing up like adding in, what is it called, the wormhole and the swoop, I think is called. Yes, it seems a little absurd to pay $60 for a kendama, but you also have to understand that philosophy, what they're doing. It looks to be extremely high quality wood, and it's made in small batches. It's not mass produced. Part of the problem initially that happened with a lot of kendama companies that first started, and it might still be a practice now, is that they get their stuff imported from China. And that can be a problem because you're outsourcing your labor. I'm going to get... this is going to sound really bad because now I'm going to start talking like a professor. You're outsourcing your material from another country to save money, and the work quality that comes over is not going to translate well. See, that's why I've always appreciated guys like Sweets or what I see out of like BHC and Grain Theory. They're pouring in their own blood, sweat, and tears into this thing. I've seen Matt's basement lab where he's constructed kendamas with him and Uptown Joe. I mean, it's like, holy cow. It's amazing what goes on down there to construct what they are passionate about. And the same thing I assume would go for BHC with their crazy paint jobs and Grain Theory with what they're thinking about. I mean, these are things that are just so incredible. And yet, to pay that much for it is in a way like an investment. You are investing in, I believe in what you're doing, that I'm willing to pay this extra money for this product. And it's kind of giving it this premier or prestige, like, oh, I've got a Grain Theory kendama. This is, top of the line. Just like these, what is it, Musu? The ones that are like $300? Like, who really? But it's all on what value you place on these things, and it all depends on your taste. I'm not big on having some spectacular kendama that's, I paid a king's ransom for, that I'm never going to play because I don't want to damage it. I'd rather buy some just rock solid TK16s or something and just rock those out, because those are, to me, better. So, really, this flood of the market I don't see as an issue because the community will take care of itself. It will figure out what is good, what is not, because, believe it or not, it's not companies that have the power to dictate what kind of kendama you get. You have the power to dictate the kind of kendama that you get and that you play with, and you can spread that power through word of mouth. That's why I like the Facebook kendama community, or whatever it's called, because they always talk about tricks. They always talk about this or that brand of kendama. And yes, there's a lot of kendama drama, but it's still, they're still communicating ideas, and I find that extremely powerful, which is what all people have, just very few people exercise. Alright, this has been Kendama Joe's Mailbag, and this has been a really long episode, but I really don't care, because you know what? I care. So, the more mail you guys send me, I'll answer it. I don't care. I mean, good grief, this episode's probably going to be a half hour long, and I've managed to do it. And there's probably a whole lot of crap in it that I would edit out because it sucks balls, but hey, I care. So, want to ask me a question? KendamaJoe78@gmail.com is the best place to go to contact me to get your question answered on this show, if that's what you want to call us by now, whatever. Twitter @KendamaJoe. Follow me there, whatever. And don't forget that I have my Facebook. If you want me to start voting for whatever tutorial you want to see, and I'll consider which one I want to do. But until next time, after just marathon ranting and raving like a lunatic, this is Sam Miller, aka Kendama Joe, telling you to go out there, keep dominating. If you want, send me fan mail. Like I said, I'll answer it. and keep dominating, for God's sakes. Peace.